Life can be stressful and difficult, and if we can help it, it's better not to artificially add to our struggle. I do find some relief in taking a broader perspective about what's really going on, and in remembering that I can let myself off the hook at times. Luckily, I don't believe in free will. Like in making these videos, I stress myself out unnecessarily about them. I pressure myself to record more, but it's difficult to find time with my job and family responsibilities. There are only so many hours in a day. And yet, when I'm not shooting or editing, I regret it and I think about the missed opportunities. But I do take solace in the belief that it couldn't have been otherwise. I couldn't have done differently. If we could rewind the clock and do it all over again, everything would play out exactly as it had, at least according to this deterministic view of reality. It's one in which we don't have complete libertarian free will, and like Bernardo Kastrup would say, it eliminates regret and anxiety from our lives. It's the freedom of the slave, being a slave to nature at large, or the mind of God. Now, that can be a provocative statement for some of you. For others, it's obvious and even ridiculous to think that we have complete control of things. As Bernardo writes, it's as ridiculous as an apple blossom trying to live forever in disregard for the natural process of the apple tree. We play our parts, and they're relatively much smaller roles than we may think in the grand scheme of things. We're part of nature and can't be separated from it. And the whole of nature is much bigger than we are as individuals. I mean, we're like a little boat on a raging sea beneath. We're often at the mercy of it, even though we like to convince ourselves that we have some amount of control. And maybe we do have some amount of control in directing things with our plans and actions, especially those that come from a much deeper place of inspiration. It's just that the intricate web of cause and effect between ourselves and others and the world, the universe at large, seems to drown out our puny little individual desires and plans. They're made so small almost to the point of making them irrelevant to the bigger picture in and of themselves, or when just taken in isolation. But is the apple blossom analogy really fair? According to Bernardo's own philosophy, we're distinct from other living organisms in one very significant way. We're metacognitive. We are self-reflective animals. We not only think, but we know that we think, and we can reflect on our thoughts and actions. In that way, we have a little more control than other animals do. We can pre-plan and premeditate things. We can reflect on our own tendencies and our own instinctive habitual reflexes, and we can guide them accordingly in the future. Or at least it seems like we have some modicum of control in this way. According to Bernardo, it's this unique capacity for self-reflection that gives us the moral high ground in nature, to be able to pass value judgments. It allows us to take stock of what we're doing for a greater good and in the service to a greater well-being for others. Even in a deterministic world, we're still playing our parts. Even if we're not completely free of the entire play of nature, we still can't opt out of it. The lack of free will doesn't condone an attitude of complacency, one where we think, well, if everything is predetermined anyway, why even bother? What's the point of even doing anything? In this book, Bernardo uses the analogy of a computer's integrated circuit. He writes, think of a computer. It is a completely deterministic system, this being the reason it is so reliable. If you run a given program on a given set of data, the results will reliably be the same every time you run the same program on the same data. Nothing is left to chance in a properly working computer. Yet, the computer is constituted of many integrated circuits, or ICs. Each IC receives certain inputs, processes them, and generates its outputs accordingly. These outputs are then sent to the next IC, which receives them and its inputs, processes them, and generates its own outputs accordingly, and so on. He goes on further to write about us in this way. Even though the system may be deterministic, we still need to play our parts. I still need to write this book and you to read it, so my output, i.e. this book, can serve as your input to be processed by you according to your archetypal dispositions, thereby leading to the choices and actions through which you will further influence the world. Should I fail to write my output or do you read it, things would conceivably unfold very differently, like a broken computer. Determinism, therefore, does not contradict the meaning and purpose of any action, choice, or event in life. We must still play our parts, do our jobs, or the whole won't get to its ultimate teleological destination. Bernardo sees free will as a contradiction in terms. Free means not determined, and will means not random. But that doesn't mean anything. There's nothing that isn't either determined or random. We definitely don't think of freedom to mean that we make random choices. But we also don't like to think that all our choices are predetermined. Or at least we don't want to think of our choices and actions being predetermined by anything outside of ourselves. As long as they're determined by ourselves, by what we consider ourselves to be, that's our intuition of free will. I have a sense that my choices are determined by my desires, my preferences, and my tendencies. But they're still determined. Our choices are determined by what we are. And there's the rub. The illusion of what we are confuses everything. Essentially, we're not our personal limited minds. As Bernardo writes, the universe at its most fundamental level is a spatially unbound field of subjectivity, i.e., one universal mind. He goes on to write further, and it must be self-excitable. It must have an inherent endogenous impetus toward changing its own states. What we loosely refer to as free will is this endogenous impetus, which we experience directly since we are segments of the field ourselves. As such, free will does exist, but it doesn't contradict determinism. And this freedom lies in the process of that one mind discovering what it truly is. That's where randomness versus determinism becomes a moot point. Because, as Bernardo describes it, the universe is computationally irreducible. He writes, in other words, we cannot calculate in advance with full precision and based on microscopic first principles where the universe is going. The only way to know is to wait for the universe to go through its motions and get there by itself. Therefore, if the universe, as a mind or field of subjectivity, wants to know itself, it must go through its own motions, its own self-expression. He further writes, every natural event is a moment of natural self-discovery at a universal level. So the journey is still one of great import and significance, determined or not. Every choice we make is a moment of self-discovery. Therein lies its meaning. I don't know, maybe I want to have my cake and eat it too. For example, I didn't pressure myself to make this video today on my one free day off, and yet I do feel good now that I have. I guess I want to philosophize my way into alleviating any potential for regret and anxiety by understanding that nature is happening through me and that I'm a slave to it, living a sacrificial life to my Daimon. What's determined to happen will happen anyway, regardless of me worrying about things or trying hard to manipulate outcomes and steer my own course in the right direction. But then again, I also want some amount of control over where I'm headed and how the journey plays out for me. It's not enough to just witness the unfolding, to play a passive role in nature's self-discovery. Even if it's all fated to be, this illusion of our own individual freedom persists. Our destination may be set, but how we get there still seems to be open to us. As Bernardo writes, he thinks of his own journey with the curiosity of someone who hasn't chosen a destination, but is trusted with navigating the terrain, so to pursue his nature-given fate. But I still want to know, where exactly are we going? Maybe I want my cake,